This video is sponsored by Everand. More on that in a bit. With the final episode airing last Friday, we made it to the end of Murderbot Season 1. Now, am I through the roof ecstatic that we are getting a Season 2? Yes, I am. Apple TV, give us more Murderbot! But I'm also feeling a bit melancholic with the way in which the season ended. Not because it isn't beautiful, of course. There were so many moments that were great highlights for me. Watching the Preservation Ox team go to bat to get their security unit back, having Gurathin come around to downloading Murderbot's memory so that they can give it back its personality. Murderbot's I need to check the perimeter, and Gura recognizing that the line is it's saying that it is leaving, to which he heartbreakingly responds, you need to check the perimeter. Murderbot whispered thank you. Dr. Mensa's silent cries when she wakes up and realizes that it's gone. The season finale had a lot of action moments for sure, but what broke me were those final 10 minutes, because as much as All Systems Red also ends with Murderbot leaving the Preservation Ox team behind after they purchase its freedom, the why of it leaving is very different from what we got in the books and fits better with the story that we've gotten to see develop throughout the season. Because, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's made this claim/statement, but the TV show does give a lot of characterization to the Preservation Ox team and their interactions with Murderbot. And each of those interactions is, in its own way, is all tied to identity. Murderbot's identity itself and its agency, and if said agency would be respected by the team. We've seen that in its interaction with Rafi, with Gura, and with Mensa, which is why it is the trio of them that are called to the farewell that we end up getting in the final episode of Season 1. Now, in the book All Systems Red, it ends just like with the show, with Murderbot choosing to leave the rest of the Preservation Ox team, each arrived with a cargo ship who it has plans to share its files of premium quality television with, whilst it's on a journey to figure out who it is, specifically as it pertains to the mystery of what exactly did it do to the miners. I'm not going to say anything else about the book, as I absolutely think that the series itself is a phenomenal one and you absolutely should go check it out, which is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, Everand. Everand is an amazing repository of books, both ebooks and audiobooks, that you can access at a monthly subscription fee that gives you 3 all-as books at a cost that is significantly cheaper than its very popular competitor, whose name rhymes with laudable, and whose subscription only gives you access to 1 book. Or you can go for an even cheaper subscription cost if you would much rather prefer reading old books like I do. Whatever the case, Everand's got you. And you know what else Everand's got? All the books in the Murderbot series. So whilst you wait for Season 2 to drop, grab your headphones, get yourself an Everand subscription, and get to enjoying a fantastic series. If you're interested in picking up an Everand subscription, kindly use my link. It is in the description bar. This way you get to enjoy fantastic storytelling and help to support my channel, as I get a little commission if you use my link. And with that said, let's get back to talking about Murderbot Season 1 Episode 10, aptly titled The Perimeter. As I was saying before I brought on the ad, the fact that Murderbot as a show fleshed out Murderbot's relationship with Rafi and Gura, instead of just relying on its focus being Murderbot's friendship with Mensa, which is more of what we got in the books, it is what made the finale distinctly different from All Systems Red ending, and also the pathos of that parting gets to hit us in the chest because of what it means. Because whilst the book did show that, sure, Murderbot's journey is all about finding itself by learning more about the truths of his memories, the show actively choosing not to even bring that up is meant to serve as a way for us as the audience to focus more on what matters in that regard. And what has always been central to Murderbot's story in the show in its first season has been a desire for its own agency, self-ownership, and self-governorship. Rafi as a character is one that constantly has to be reminded by the rest of the team that he must realize that Murderbot has its own personhood. And so therefore, its clear discomfort with not being chatty and excessively conversational with the rest of the team is one that Raffi needs to understand and respect. And Raffi eventually comes to that realization, even though it doesn't change the fact that he wants to befriend and considers Murderbot his friend. It's why he is able to immediately spot Murderbot in the company's compound when it was being taken away to use to suppress the protesting and rioting miners. Even though Murderbot's helmet is on, Raffi considers it a friend and immediately identifies his friend and runs to it. Of course, it's what makes the fact that at that point, Murderbot's memory of Raffi had been erased. That's what makes it hurt. Now, I've seen people write tweets and posts about how the ending dragged on too long and was unnecessary, but I disagree with that point. The ending was a culmination of everything that they had gone through together, the lessons they have learned, and the fact that they were on the verge of repeating it. I don't think it's a throwaway line we're meant to ignore that upon having Murderbot's memories and personality restored, the team gets carried away and wants it to chat and talk, expressing emotions and feelings and processing them the way they all do. Now, I'm not saying that the Preservation Ox team did that with any form of malice, mind you. I'm just saying that that is how they've always been. The show, the entirety of the season has gone out of its way to repeat that to us, so we aren't surprised at that response. But that isn't Murderbot. It was never going to be the one who was going to partake in that ritual of sharing its thoughts. And once again, I know that the team didn't mean it maliciously, but it does speak to a slow erosion of its personhood and a forgetting of who Murderbot is at its core that they even thought to mention it. I think the significance of that was to show how easy it was for them to slip into the comfort and familiarity of their relationship with one another and their expectations that Murderbot would fit right into that, which is a marked contrast to what they had been trying to teach Raffi all along in his own interactions and relationship with Murderbot earlier on in the season. I found it a powerful moment when Murderbot is about to leave and Gura stops it. Because one, I thought they were going to have it be Mensa, but then when I saw that it was Gura, it made sense. Gurathin understands what it feels like to be overwhelmed by the good-natured humans that make up the Preservation Ox team. He is aware that they can be overwhelming and that sometimes they do cross boundaries that they shouldn't, but they do it all to help you feel like part of the team, part of the family. We already saw his slight discomfort when they first came to the corporation the night before they left for their expedition, and they asked him to share a bittersweet truth as a bonding exercise. No one else in that space, in that team, understands the confusion that comes from having such a drastic switch and change in your identity and alliances, and how disorienting it is to come to terms with that like Gura does. But like he tells Murderbot, they mean well. And he knows Murderbot would eventually fit right in. I mean, he has. And I don't know about you, but that scene got me in the gut because it took Gura from his skepticism about Murderbot to actually seeing it as one of their own and wanting to show it that there is a way for it to become comfortable with this change and this new identity. And the fact that this entire conversation happens with them both looking into each other's eyes, shedding that previous distance and showing that layer of vulnerability that is marked with eye contact, it is beautiful to me. It's such a long way from the start of the show where Gura forces Murderbot to look him in the eye when the latter wasn't comfortable with that. Now, the latter is. And now, Murderbot wants to leave. Because ultimately, if what it's promised it is true freedom by virtue of a purchase of its contract, and this freedom has stripped it of its previous purpose, I mean, it's not a security unit anymore, it's not a bodyguard anymore, then what exactly is it? It's a change that needs adjusting to, and the way the Preservation Ox team is built, there would be no room for Murderbot to get that, to achieve that. Which is why it has to leave. And as much as it does have a good, close relationship with Dr. Mensa, I mean, it has talked her down from panic attacks. She saved its life with a mining drill. It saved her life by pushing her off a ravine and protecting her with its body when the emergency beacon went off. They've been through life and death situations more than anyone else in the team, and we could even all agree that it is closer to her than it is to anyone else in Preservation Ox. The only problem is that her purchase of it, whilst a gift, also has the potential of stifling it, because with her position as its guardian, that still maintains a level of control over it that Murderbot doesn't want. The one thing that it's always desired is to maintain its own autonomy, and it has started before we kick things off with the events in the show or the book by hacking its governor module before the story even begins. A guardianship, whilst better than an employer-employee relationship, is still one that has Murderbot reliant on someone else, and that is something that it doesn't want or desire. It's never done so. The depiction of their relationship has always been equal in a weird way. The expansion of the show with regards to interactions with the other Preservation Oaks team has shown that with the others, Mensa does have a sort of motherly role within their lives, Gura especially, although that also has a bit of an Oedipus complex written in there that's just weird, but also makes sense for Gura because she saved him, and that gratitude for her protection is mixing with love into this messy soup. But that has never been Mensa's relationship with Murderbot. It sees her as someone it is duty bound to protect. Having the scale be switched at this point is something that it finds itself very difficult to navigate and accept, because if truly Mensa is doing this to free it, then the question is, what does it want? Who is it really? And unlike the book, what it wants at the end of the season isn't answers. What Murderbot wants is to be free. To be the one charting its own course, navigating its own life, not dependent on anything or anyone. And it makes me so proud, just as it makes me so sad. And I really, really cannot wait for season 2. But yeah, those are my thoughts about the changes. It's minute, I know, but I still think that those changes, small as they may be, they work well with all the other expansions that have been fleshed out from the books within the adaptation. There's a reason why, although Pinli, Bharadwaj, and Arada also have their roles and parts to play in the finale, the core of it still rests on Rathi, Gurathin, and Mensa, because they are the ones most directly tied to the journey that Murderbot has taken us on as it navigated its relationship with these humans it grew to have a fondness for, who loved nothing more than to take it away from its favorite show. Of course, these are just my thoughts. As always, I would love to hear yours. Please drop them down in the comments. Like this video if you've watched this far and haven't done so yet. Share this if you want. Support me on Patreon if you can. And until tomorrow's video, do remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.